with this setup like this, we can make use of one of the quick setups from Houdini 19. So if you go here, you have simulated sparks. Wait for it. And now we should have some simulated sparks. Let's go through stages. So we have our pyroscatter from burst. Let's go here. We're just defining some attributes: drag, mass, life. So some variation here. And then we're not interested on this one. And these are the ones that are coming into the pop network. And we'll be simulating some sparks. Okay, it's a start. It's not the finish. It's not the final result, but it's a start. So let me hide this. And so on the pop network, we definitely want the sparks to be able to collide with the robot. So that's something we can reuse as we've done in the past. So let's just grab the robot here, Control C, Control V, and we want to reuse this for sure. Let me go up. At this point, I feel comfortable in disabling this and just going all the way back to frame one, and you should be able to see what's going on. PopNet, I don't want to bring the collision object, so pop object 1. The pop object doesn't have one. And let's bring the geometry. So we should see just the points. Okay, we have some points. Now, we're probably going to be adjusting a few other things here, but then we have the time blend, the spark trail. Let's hide these, and out are the simulated sparks. So the idea behind this is that instead of having to render the sparks with motion blur, which would require a bunch of samples for you to have a continuous light trail on your render, you can just actually generate that trail on the geometry and just render without motion blur. If your camera is moving a lot, this won't work, okay, because the motion blur would need to take into account the camera. But if the movement is mostly coming from the actual sparks moving, then this is a good option. Okay, so in our case, the camera is moving really, really slow. So it's totally fine if we go with this option. Okay. Now, regarding the spark trail, I think they're definitely too big. Okay, so that's the first thing that I'm going to be changing. So the frame duration, let's switch to 0.5. Again, this is a slow motion thing. They need to be kind of adjusted. So because at this point, they're going to be kind of looking real time sparks, and you'll notice that there's a discrepancy between the speed at which the robot is moving and the speed of the sparks. So we will be adjusting that. So let's just do a quick preview from camera 1. Why not? Let's just turn on the robot and we'll see what we have. Okay, so here we are, and as you can see, the sparks are kind of real time and the robot is slow motion. So we definitely need to slow those things down, and that's really easy to fix. In our case, it's pretty straightforward. But overall, this is the proper start. Let's just make sure we have that going for us. The other thing we should also add is make sure that the particles are also being affected by the same volumes that are affecting the rest of the particles. So let's go to the pop network. We don't need this. Let's customize this quick setup to fit our needs. So I'm going to grab the pop effect by volumes on the popnet. Control V. I'm going to put it here. This pop force is pretty much just representing gravity. Maybe we can go with half the intensity on gravity, so -5. On the puppet vec by volumes, we're not going to be updating velocity. It would be too dramatic, too strong of an effect. So in this case, we will definitely update force, but we will need to let me remove the vex expression, and let's make sure that we have more intensity here. So the velocity scale, let's start with 2, and the air resistance, let's start with 1 and see what that gives us, if that may be enough. Pop solver time scale. On the time scale, we're definitely gonna be lowering this down to better match the velocity of the robot. I think a quarter of the real time is okay. This should be better. Let's have a look at this. And now the sparks look definitely more like they're in the same environment as everything else, the same speed. I don't feel enough advection happening, so I think we will need to improve that. Let's go into the pop network, and here on the pop advec by volume, I'm going to increase the air resistance. Pretty much just defines how much they're going to be affected by this force. And let's do another one. Okay, so let's have a look. We definitely feel them being affected now for sure. So I guess we have our sparks.